Hi, my name is Jake. I'm on the customer success team here at GW Apps, and in my role, I work with organizations to help them identify where or which processes in their business can be made more efficient with workflow automation. And one of the most common processes I see organizations struggling with are approval-based processes. And typically what I'll see is many organizations handling even important and critical business approvals entirely in email chains. The problem with this, of course, is it leads to some major inefficiencies, and there are really three major problems that I see these organizations dealing with. First of all, requests can get buried in the slew of daily emails that employees may normally get. I get upwards of 20 emails, sometimes more a day, and an important email can sometimes get pushed to the second page or just pushed down, and I may not see it right away. This leads to delayed response times and occasionally can lead to missing or lost requests. Another issue is the lack of visibility of the process itself. So if a requester, for example, would like an update or to know where in the process their request is, they have to either dig through emails or reach out to somebody, and whoever they reach out to will likely need to dig through emails in order to find that answer. So this, of course, leads to lost time. Finally, another major issue I see organizations dealing with is a lack of real audit history or change history for these requests. So it can be difficult, for example, when audit time comes to know who approved what and when. Again, people will need to be going through the email chains, digging through emails, trying to find that answer, and it contributes to significant lost time. Now, the good news is that each of these issues is directly addressed with a workflow automation platform like GW Apps. And the real benefit of GW Apps specifically is that it's entirely no code. So anyone in your organization can build out these processes, these approval processes, without any coding experience. Everything is just drag, drop, and configure. And I think the best way to showcase how it can address these problems is to jump into an application that has been built on GW Apps and just show you how it works. So here we are in GW Apps. What you're seeing here is my application dashboard. These are applications or services, processes that I personally have access to. We're going to take a look at an approval-based process, and that's the purchase requests application. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. Now the first thing I see here is just an overview dashboard showing me an overview of requests. So for example, how many are in each stage of the workflow. I can expand these groups here to see additional information about those requests in those workflow stages. I could select a record directly from here to open it up and see some additional information. But before we do that, I'm going to open up the new request form. This is what would be used to, of course, submit a new request. And it's a typical web form. It's got different kinds of fields here to fill out, drop-down fields. This is a directory lookup field. I'll just put myself here as the approving manager. We've got regular text fields for titles, date picker fields. This is another kind of drop-down where we bring additional information, for example, whether or not it requires another stage of review. And then, of course, we can add our items and perform things like automatic calculations, and we can add additional items up to however many we need. And it will, of course, total all of those items here. And once the form is complete and ready to submit, all they have to do is click this submit button. And in this case, I'm taken to a view. It redirects me to this active requests view. And from here, I can see all active requests or requests that are currently in a workflow stage that is considered active, so it hasn't been approved or rejected yet. Here you can see that request that I just made. If I select it, it'll open up in a preview window and I can see the additional information. And from here, I can approve or reject it since I am the approving manager. If I approve this, you can see it moves now to an additional review stage, and that is because we have this requires additional review, which is based on the category. As the additional review approver, I could then come in and approve that in the same way. And eventually this will make its way through the approval process. And along the way, you can initiate any number of workflow actions, things like sending custom emails with field data included in the email, even including action buttons in the email. So an approver, for example, can approve or reject directly from their email. You could send in-app notifications, which would appear under this little bell icon. All of this can happen automatically as a part of the process. And at any point during the process, a requester or a manager could come into this application, access whatever view you've given permission for them to access, and track their request, see where it is, maybe what it's waiting for, and so on. Now, I want to show you just a couple of the other view types in this particular application. These are all table views, which are similar to your email inbox, but each of these will be grouped by different things. So here we are grouping by status, which is the same as the dashboard view. You can also group by something like requester. Here are all of my specific requests grouped under my name. And then of course you can also nestle groups. So we have first by category, then by department. This will be the opposite, first by department and then by category. Now, the last thing I want to touch on briefly is record audit history. Each record does maintain a history of changes made. So I'm going to go back to active requests, and I'll open up the history for that record I created. This will show me a chronological history of the record since it was created. So of course the first action here is that it was created. And below that we can see changes made to fields, changes made to workflow, emails sent out, things like that would display in the record history. Now, before we move on, I do just want to quickly show you how easy it is to customize this application. This application is available as a template on the platform, meaning you can download it as is, but it's intended to be a starting point and it's highly customizable. So I'm going to access the form editor quickly. This is the form builder. In the middle, we have the form. On the left, we've got our layout component and layout options, and then also our field types. And then across the top, just some additional form options like this form's workflow, user permissions and security, and so on. Now, to edit the form, it's as easy as simply dragging one of these field types onto the form, and then we can edit the title directly right here. For example, we can edit the help text directly right here. We can make it required or not, and we can access some additional settings for each field type here. And so editing this form is really as simple as dragging, dropping, and configuring these fields. And the same is true for things like the workflow and user security, which is also, again, entirely no code. So if your organization is currently handling important business approvals through email and you're running into some issues and you're looking for a more streamlined and efficient approach, I hope this video gave you some ideas of how workflow automation and a no-code tool like GW Apps can be used to streamline those processes and eliminate those inefficiencies completely. So thank you for watching and take care.